Just chase.
Come on in, come on
Dr. Joe
in.
Griffin. Yeah,
Come on in, you all. Come on in.
yeah. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching. Their talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. I introduce
Come
you to
on
Dr. Joe
in.
Griffin. It's Dr. Joe Griffin. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching. Their talk is to broaden their vision, the things
Come
they
on
weren't taught
in,
when they
you
brought
all.
up as
Let's go,
children.
let's
Reach
go.
for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your
Let's
conditions.
go.
He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers. 50 to 80% that ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his fame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education. Leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers. 50 to 80% they ain't know that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin.
Great day, great day, great day, leaders. Welcome, week 37 of the Speaking Life in You Leadership live stream. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Griffin, where we talk leadership dynamics, personal and professional growth, educational trends, and provide solutions to help you with school improvement. Let's go! And most importantly, y'all, let's grow. Let's go, let's grow. And that's why we come here each and every week, you all. And it's quite a pleasure. I'm thankful to have you. I know that you're in with me, and I thank you for coming in. We got a good one lined up for you today, and we're not holding back today, you all. We might step on some toes, but at the same time, we're gonna motivate you, inspire you to keep going, to keep trying to be the best that you can be. It's all about being the best educator that you can be each and every day, and that's what it comes down to. Wanna first off, you all just start out like I always do, welcome you, but how you holding up? I want to ask you the question. How are you holding up? We have a lot that happens each and every day in our lives. And then you cross-reference that with what happens each week, what happens each month, each quarter, each year. It can add up. So how are you holding up? I want to just give you a chance to reflect on that for a second, because you've got to think about you. You've got to think about how are you setting yourself up to continue to be successful and put yourself in even more successful situations. How are you holding up? You all go ahead and start like, comment, subscribe, share this out, because we coming hard today. We got some information for you today. Continue to send out prayers for those that are suffering, whether it be out here in California, whether it be on the East Coast, whether it be Midwest, wherever it is, you know someone that's suffering. If you know a community that's suffering, let's give a moment, just a brief few seconds, about 10 seconds of silence and for that particular group of people, so that they can have the energy and the power and the vibes, the good vibes they need. Let's send them their way. Yes. Definitely share out where you're streaming in from. I definitely want to know where you're streaming in from, you all. I appreciate it when you let me know. I appreciate you for being here with me. Good afternoon, Doc McKeever Jeter. Definitely appreciate you from Calumet City. Appreciate it. That's all right. All right. So we're gonna just continue to push as we go through the day, you all. And like I said before, I might step on a few toes. I don't know. But the thing is, if I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. I'm gonna let that sink for a second. Because if I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. And if you're not willing to grow, guess what? That means it's also time to go. Ooh, wait. And we're gonna bag it all up. We're gonna show you how that looks when you're working into a collaborative framework and you're trying to instill this mentality into your leaders, into your teachers. Because as we talk about each and every week, it's not just the professional development, it's the mindset training that goes along with that professional development. How are you getting it over to your leaders? How are you getting it over to your teachers so they then can bump it down to your students? If I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. And if I'm not willing to grow, it's probably time for me to go. And I'm gonna give you some points to kind of bounce that off. Then we'll come back. We'll look at a few strategies that you can implement or use right away and continue from this point in the school year all the way through to next year, because I'm a big firm believer that you can't wait till next year. We've got some people who have already begun state testing in their particular states, and you got some that won't begin until the beginning of May and some in mid-May. I know one school in particular that I work with this year, they're not going to do their final test until May 14th, and I think they get out at the end of May or something like that. So, and that's how I always used to try to run mine as well. I used to try to always push those tests back as far as possible to the end of the year, and that allow us to have the remaining time to plan for next year, but also to review, because you're not going to stop learning once you state test. You're not going to stop doing those things that going to put you in a better situation for a good culture for next year, right? All right, so when we talk about being stuck and being in the way, not willing to grow, you got to think about it. It all begins with the educator. It all begins with you. It begins inside. Education, it's a commitment and it's a calling. You know, I fought going into education, number one, because I got background with education. My parents, my mother taught 51 years. My father, he taught 25 years. So I did not want to go into education. I dreaded it. I pushed against it, but I ended up falling into it. And since then, even when I got into it, I wanted to get away. I thought that I wasn't going to keep being an educator, but it kept calling me. It kept drawing me back. So it's a commitment and a calling being an educator, and it begins on the inside. We've got to understand that what we do as the educator impacts the world, not just our locale, not just our area that we're in, not just the vicinity, but it impacts the world, because those students, those educators that you're working with, they go out into the bigger world. They go out into the society. They go out into society. So when we teach, it's a microcosm that affects macro. Wow. That's big, you all. So we got to always think about that. It begins with the educator. I'm going to take it a step further. If you don't continue to input, the output stagnates. And when the output stagnates, students hurt. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute, you all, because I know that I'm stepping on some toes. I know that this might not be comfortable for you to hear at some point, but this is something we got to think about, right? And if you know educators that need to hear this, that need to go, that need to grow, that need to continue to put into themselves, because as I just said, if you don't continue to input, the output will stagnate. And we know that's not you all, because we're here every single week. We're here doing our professional development. We're here collaborating to improve, trying to get better, trying to stay in the craft. Studying the craft is the actual topic. And that's why we're here. So we want to continue to understand that if we don't continue to input, our output suffers. And when our output suffers, students suffer. That's powerful. I just want that to just sink in for a minute. When you hear those teachers that say, I'm just doing it for the check. I've put my years in. I don't want to grow. I don't want to try any new strategies. My strategy, it's been working since 2015 and it still works, right? You know, you got those. I know them. I listen to them. I see them. When I go in these schools, you think I don't come across it? I hear even from the leadership sometimes, but we've got to understand that when we're trying to put a collaborative framework in place, these are conversations we got to have out in the open. These are things that we've got to discuss. It's got to be a part of our daily language. We are inputting into ourselves so that we can output for students. Now, that gives that educator a different viewpoint, doesn't it? It gives you a different perspective. It gives you more than just a why. It gives you your purpose. You there because, yeah, you need to check, you need to support your family, but your purpose is to make sure those students get what they need. So output stagnates when you don't continue to input. And that's a barrier to student success, period. You're hurting students when you don't continue to grow as an educator. If I'm stuck in my ways, guess what? I'm in the way. If I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. We can't get stuck. Education continues to evolve. It changes sometimes by the week. Look at the changes that are going down right now in the nation. We don't know what's happening next because we got changes. We got to continue to be adaptable, continue to be flexible because it matters. It does matter. All right. And it shows up in your testing. That's the other thing about it. When you don't continue to input, it doesn't show up in your output, but it shows up in those test scores, doesn't it? Because now test scores are right where they used to be, where they've been the whole time. You got a history teacher that scores 70% every year. Well, guess what? They use the same strategies every single year. They refuse to grow. You haven't provided them with the information so they can improve. So where's the challenge? Where's the challenge to try something different, to become a little bit uncomfortable so that you can grow? That's the only way that growth occurs, through uncomfortability. So it's important to understand that it shows up in the testing when we don't want to grow as educators. That's the second thing. Third thing that I want to say about this. Time has passed when you no longer have time to study. Time has passed when you no longer have time to study. When you no longer have the time to study, that means your time is past. When you no longer put into the craft, when you're on autopilot, when you're doing the same things that you've been doing for years, you're getting the same results that you're getting for years. Guess what? Time has passed, right? Time has passed when you no longer have time to study. You want to always continue to add to your toolkit, continue to be better, continue to see where you can be a little bit more proficient, a little bit more efficient, give a little bit more to what you're doing. And it's okay, because when we are in our passion, when we're doing what we love, we think about that. We think about how can we get better. So, and the fourth thing that I want you to think about when you think, if I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. Collaboration does not happen without personal development. Personal development influences professional development outcomes. So when I think about that, when we think about that, we want to understand that it's important to study our craft because we work with and through other people. So that's only enhanced when we're able to bring in the rest of the team, when we're able to speak with our leaders, when we're able to speak even with the students about things that are going to help them learn better and to be better. That's collaboration. And that doesn't happen without the personal development piece. You have to want to be better. You have to constantly be digging in. You have to understand that I must study my craft as an educator. That's the only way I can even get close to mastery, as if I study the craft. How much time we putting in? Think about it. You putting your time in right now with you listening to the podcast, you listening to the live stream, you're getting better because you're taking in everything that I'm saying, everything that we discuss, and you're adding it to what you already have. I know that's what empowerment is about. That's why we share information. That's why we talk through things. It's called collaboration, and it rules the nation. And collaboration does not happen without that personal development piece, which also influences professional development outcomes. If I'm stuck in my way, I'm in the way. If I'm not willing to grow, it's time to go. And remember, I gave you several points on that. It all begins with the educator. If I don't continue to input, my output suffers, and so does student achievement, right? Time has passed when you no longer want to study, or when you feel like you don't have to study, because we know that we continue to evolve, we continue to grow, and collaboration, it just doesn't happen without that personal development, because personal development influences that professional development. Woo! Just tell me if you're hearing this, if you're feeling what we're saying. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Definitely appreciate it. Let's see what we got here, you all, because as always, we want to not only give you philosophy, but we also want to give you some strategies that you can use, the mindset pieces that you can implement. That's when we start turning the corner. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing the work, you all. Now, when we think about some of this, I'm going to put up a banner here. You say, why does it even matter? Why does mastering the craft even matter? And then you follow that up. What happens to student learning when we stop growing? What happens to student learning when we stop growing? Just think about that for a moment. When we got educators, and you're talking about leaders, you're talking about teachers that have taken on the attitude that I'm not going to grow anymore. I can't grow anymore. I put my best foot forward, right? And they no longer entertain new philosophies, new ideas, new strategies, new outlooks. What happens to the student learning? You think it accelerates? No, it can't accelerate if the instructors and the leaders aren't accelerating themselves. That's why it's important to teach and to talk about the importance of studying our craft and what that looks like. Because everyone doesn't always think about why it's important that we continue to study, continue to attempt to master the craft. Think about it. That's not a given. You know, that's not just common sense, as they say. And remember, common sense is not common anymore. So we got to think about how we best going to provide educators, and we're talking about leaders and teachers, with a framework that helps them to be able to push studying down on themselves. Because when we commit to studying the craft, that's going to influence all the accountability pieces that are involved, right? So again, that's important. What happens when the student learning, when educators stop growing? Why? And that goes further and asks you, why does it matter? You say, why does it matter? You can adjust better, right? You can make better adjustments when you're studying the craft, when you're working toward mastering the craft. You are more prepared. You got better data analysis skills, right? When you study the craft, because that's been a part of what you're working on, been a part of what you do every single day. Because there's a lot of moving parts in education. There's a lot of moving parts that go well beyond just the instructional side of it. Instruction, that's deep in itself, because we've got to influence it to influence performance for all. But that's really on a small piece of what influences teachers. And we're talking about when we're trying to push them into being better at what they do. You got SEL, right? Which is huge right now. You got AI coming about. You got technology features that are coming through every single week that continue to add to the landscape of education. So we got to understand that we must continue to study. We must continue to grow. You must continue to input so that your output does not stagnate. Y'all, we cooking today. Like, comment, subscribe, share, because I know we on fire. I know we helping educators. I know that we're transferring information and empowering leaders and teachers to be the best that they can be. That's why all of this matters. And when you take on the mind frame that I'm going to continue to study my craft, I'm going to continue to add to my toolbox, everything else is going to fall in line. You're going to increase. Then you say, what happens when I work to get better? The biggest thing that happens, and this is very important, you all, you empower others. You empower other people. You empower other people when you study your craft because you're able to give back. And in this case, we're talking about leaders. We're talking about teachers. We're talking about students. You empower them. And as educators, isn't it our job to empower? Isn't our job to inspire, to lead? And those things only occur when you have situations in place where you're putting them in position where they could be successful, right? So we got to understand that it's important. We got to look at all of the missing parts when we're talking about student learning. We're talking about mastering the craft. When we're talking about the commitment and accountability. And that goes right into our topic today as well. When you're talking about empowering others, and we've been talking about this 3 sense leadership model, you all, and I'm going to add it here to the stage. And we're talking about commitment and accountability. One of the first affirmations in that piece is I studied my craft as an educator. See, when you're in a collaborative framework, this is something you teach, you push down. I studied my craft as an educator. So when we on in our job and when we're in our personal and our professional spaces, this has already been taught to us. We've already discussed. We already know that we must continue to study our craft. We know we must continue to analyze data to enhance what we do. We must understand the impact that all of it has on our future. And you say, Dr. Joe, commitment. I can't hold anyone accountable that's not committed. And accountability measures influence that commitment. I'm gonna say that again, because you can't hold anyone accountable that isn't committed to the vision. You say, well, it's a job. That's not what I mean. Just because they have a job, that does not mean that they're committed to the vision. You can't hold them accountable if they're not committed. Well, you can fire them, but that still doesn't accomplish anyone being committed to the vision. So when I understand that I can hold anyone accountable that's not committed, I then ensure that the accountability measures influence that commitment once I get it. Because remember, it's all about the connection, empowerment, which leads to collaboration, right? Which leads to collaboration. That's what we talk about each and every week. We align it so that we can learn, so that we can improve, so that we can be better. That's when it comes down to, you all. If I'm stuck in my way, I'm in the way. If I can't grow, it's time for me to go, because there's too many moving parts for me to be stagnant. And we must understand that. We must live by that. We must ingrain that into our people, into our organization, into our school community, because our students have to know this as well. It's the same process. These are the same things that we want our teachers, our educators, our leaders to do, that we also want our students to do. We want them to understand the importance of studying their craft, digging into whatever it is they're chasing after, whatever goals that they want. They've got to study the information so that they can reach it. Same thing with our teachers. We don't want teachers that are comfortable with just being or just having a job, but you have to influence them to make the impact where it's more than just a job, right? Leadership is influence. It's about getting people to go above and beyond what you ever thought was imaginable, what they ever thought was imaginable, and reaching what we never thought was possible. We on fire today. Like, comment, subscribe, share, you all. Definitely appreciate you being here with us because we cooking. We cooking today. We cooking today, you all. What are some things that you do? What are some things that you do to ensure that you're always studying the craft, that you're always digging into the now so that you can be better in your field? And even if you're not an educator, just think about it. What are you doing? Put it in the chat. Help somebody out today, you all. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, share as well. As we continue to push forward, I want to give you a few things that you can do. Give you a few things that you can do. Y'all know I like to definitely always add to your toolbox. Couple of things that you can do. And this is whether you have already tested, whether you're preparing for testing, or whether you're about to test. Right? You can still do these things. Tested or not. And if you've already tested, these are things that you can do to the end of the year that will also lead you right into next year. So I'm gonna give you 3 or 4 things right here, right now. So continue to take notes, continue to listen, continue to implement. That's the thing, you all. I do this because I want you empowered. I know what it's like to be in a school and not have the systems that you need, but then you got to create them. You got to put in the system. You got to put the people in position to live by the system, right? It matters. And it's all about that implementation. See, I can tell you stuff. You can learn stuff. You can hear how to do stuff, how to do things, but it's all in that implementation. So backwards map your test standards from the most essential standards. I'm gonna let that sink in for a minute. Because if you haven't tested, this is a great way to backwards map right now. See, a lot of times we wait till the summer to come back and backwards map, but really your review time, because you're fresh in it still, you're reflecting, you're able to see what the students learn, is fresh on your mind. You're able to think about how they learned it, in what order it was learned best, because you might have to flip some objectives around, teach something a different way, right? So think about how you're going to backwards map your standards from the most essential. So we're using our blueprint whenever we do, state test blueprint. And we know that, say, in biology, genetics, maybe 70% of the state assessment. And we want to think about that, and we have to respect that. So in reviewing, in preparation for this test over these next few weeks, how are we going to look at it? Think about it. I've got the most essential objectives, and now I can start aligning how I'm going to review it. And how I'm going to review it, I can also implement that into how my scope and sequence falls for the next year. I'm going to let that sink because that's a different level. That's a different level. That's more than just doing it. Now we're going to do it in the moment. We're planning it, and we're able to implement it because we're still fresh in our thinking. And guess what? We're 3 months ahead, 2 months ahead at least, depending on how long you're out for your summer break. But over these next few weeks, we want to backwards map our test standards. leading with the most essential standards. And the work is almost just about done for this year as well as for next year. Simple way. You're killing two birds in one stone, you are. I hope y'all listen to me. I hope you hear what I'm saying, because this is deep. This is how you get your people to study their craft. Because not only because it's happening in the moment, so they're studying your craft and you're influencing it. You're helping them do it. You're helping them not only learn more about the objectives, learn more about the tests, but also learn more about the students, because they analyzing those relationships, not just the objectives. They're thinking about how those students learn and what they did to help them to learn. So backwards map those test standards. I talk about this is the second thing, you all. I'm gonna give you 3 or 4. Second thing, I like to always talk about collaborative instructional strategies. Y'all know that. Stations, reciprocal teaching, grouping, pairing, project-based learning. Those are my favorites. It's no secret. I know what they do. That's why I brag on them all the time. I know that I can help you gain 1.5 to 2 years on the grading, on the reading level, on your reading level, if I implement reciprocal teaching with fidelity, or if I have teachers, or if I train my staff to implement it with fidelity. Because if you're getting hit with reciprocal teaching in this class all year long, you're getting hit it with this class a couple of times, few times, every so often. This class, they may be doing it with fidelity. Of course, you want everyone doing it with fidelity. Don't get me wrong, but you have to build to that. You have to be realistic, because it's not something that people just automatically do. It's something that you have to work to. You have to build confidence up. You have to be confident in your ability to implement these various instructional strategies. Yeah, we talk about them, we mention them, but true enough, you got to know what you're doing to implement. You got to have some help in implement. And remember, we talk about everyone always needing a coach. We all need coaches, you all. Who's coaching you on these things? Because you know it's going to help your students, but who's helping you implement? Who's helping you lay it down, right? So engage in those cooperative learning groups from now and beyond. See, over the next few weeks leading up to tests, that's going to help you accelerate the learning, because now we're reviewing the year's objectives that we're preparing to take state assessment on with the students, with our peers. Think about the power in that. So don't not use a strategy because you're saying I'm gonna wait till next year. No. Don't use a strategy. Don't not use a strategy because you're waiting for next year when you can get bang for your buck still. Because guess what? What if a light bulb goes off during that peer-to-peer conversation, when they're collaborating, when you're facilitating it? What if a light bulb goes off and that helps them go from basic to proficient? That could be the difference in 3, 4, 5 questions, but you're shutting it down already. Don't shut it down. Don't shut it down. Keep going. Keep using instructional strategies. If I've used a strategy all year and it hasn't worked yet, that's not the one. I know I might be hurting some feelings. I don't really care right now, because I don't do this for me. I'm not doing this for me. If I've used a strategy all year and it has not worked, students still minimum, students still basic, I can't see any growth, that's not the strategy. I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's not the one. And so we got to make an adjustment there. Another thing, third thing you could do down the stretch, something you definitely don't want to not do. And you can do this whether you're a leader or a teacher. All right, leader or a teacher. Remember, we always talk about those different perspectives. We talk about teacher principal collaboration. You need both. And one thing about it, you can pair teachers with other teachers for review, for mentoring, and for walkthroughs. What does that look like, Dr. Joe? Review. Well, just a simple review of the standards, reviewing what they taught, reviewing what strategies work. And this is a conversation outside of your professional learning community meeting, right? Because your professional learning community meetings, of course, you will have discussed some of this, but now we're talking about these one-on-one discussions. We're talking about discussions where teachers can really, really dig into it and talk about implementation. So pair them up. And you're talking about for review, for mentoring, or for walkthroughs. Reviewing information, reviewing strategies, reviewing data, right? Mentoring. Now we're talking about helping you be better. What are some best practices? What are some things that you can do to make sure that you're healthy as an educator? Because all that is a part of mentoring, all that is a part of being a great educator. And of course, you just want to make sure that you get those peer walkthroughs in. You all, even if your principal or your leaders don't have a system or peer observation system in, it is crucial that you make times to see peers in action. Teachers learn best by watching other teachers teach. Same thing on the principalship. Go to another principal school. Take an hour or 2 hours out of your day. Go see what another principal is doing on the job. This is important. Studying your craft. All this is part of studying your craft. If I'm stuck in my ways, I'm in the way. So if I can't look at doing something different, something new, something exciting that's going to push us to new, next, and better levels, I'm in the way. And this is something you have to think about, you all. Next thing that you want to do over the next 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks as you close out the school year, a lot of competition and games, academic competition and games. Great ways to, again, have that peer collaboration in the classroom. And you say, Dr. Joe, the kids get wild. Well, you got to train them. You got to talk to them. You got to encourage them. You got to inspire them. You got to let them know that we have high expectations for how you're going to behave, how you're going to learn, how you're going to improve during this time that we're doing these competitions, during the time that we play these academic games, right? So it's important that we understand that, again, the mindset training. Not only do we have to commit to the mindset training for our teachers when we're trying to professional development, when we're trying to professional develop them, when we're trying to add to their toolbox, but you also have to do the same for students. You also have to provide them with the mindset. You got to let them know why we're doing what we're doing, why we're using these particular strategies. Same thing with your teachers. Why are we using these grouping strategies? Well, Miss Davis, these are culturally relevant strategies. When we look at peer teaching, when we look at reciprocal teaching, it allows the students to be social about the lesson. It allows them to activate skills. It gives them STEM starters that helps them increase their metacognition. And that's thinking about their thinking, because that's a powerful thing when you're thinking about your thinking. And the only way that you know that you can think about your thinking is if someone has told you that and you've learned it, or you studied your craft to the point where you know, wow, I'm actually thinking about what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking it. Again, that's a different level. So again, that's 4 quick things that you all can do right now. Backwards map those test standards from the most essential. Use that over the next few weeks. That will allow you to help make your scope and sequence for next school term. Something that you won't have to do over the summer, something that will then allow to dissolve and go into your brain across the summer. And of course, you can definitely look at it and study it so that you can be ready, but it won't be work that you have to create. You will have already created during the work, while you were doing the work, during the work, while you were doing the work. Yes. Engage in those cooperative learning groups. You want to pair teachers up, and you want to make sure that competition prevails. Competition prevails. And it does matter, you all. So just think about that for a minute. Like, comment, subscribe, share. If you feel what I'm saying, if you hear what I'm saying, definitely give us a like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to comment. Yeah, I do this because I know somebody listening. I know someone is becoming empowered. I took myself out of this 37 weeks ago. More than that, really, but this the week 37. And that's what helps me to keep going. They say, Dr. Joe, why are you giving out all this information? You won't believe I have people, and we're talking about other entrepreneurs, other consultants that ask me, why am I giving out all this information? I would dare call their name because that's a conversation for me. But why not? Why not? Why not give it out? Why are you holding it? Why are you gatekeeping? Because the thing about it is nothing new is under the sun. And if you need help implementing it, you're still going to get the person that you need to help implement. And if that's me, that's great. If that's not me, that's great. It's not why I'm doing it. Yeah, I tell you that I got a good book, Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher principal collaboration, and we've been talking about it these last few weeks. But if you don't get it, that's on you. You can still learn a lot by coming here each and every week and doing professional development with us and with me. That's why it's important. You are. When you get to the point where what you do is to empower others, oh, it feels so good. Nothing can stop you. Drown out all the fear. You stop worrying about the critics. You don't care what people are saying. It does not matter. Right? All of this is crucial. All of this is important. Couple of PD takeaways, y'all. Now, y'all know. Y'all know I'm going to get you some PD takeaways every single time. We got to. If y'all want that 30-day educational leadership plan, get it. You can implement it. 30 days, 30 different sessions. Walk through it. You and your team. If you hadn't picked up the empowering educational communities, pick it up. And guess what? If you don't, that's your loss. I'm going to leave it at that. Endorsed by Dr. Pedro Noguera, as well as the GOAT, Principal Barude Kafele. All right? So I know it's good stuff in that book. And again, we do it because we want to empower others. We want to see you successful. We want to see you get better. We want to see you take those students to next levels. All right, so I want to give you a couple of PD takeaways, you all. As always, we try to give you something that you can take away. Revisit. This is the first thing I want you to do. Revisit a PD takeaway and apply it this week. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't something that you could take away from today's professional development, go back through your professional development folder for the year and look at some of those different things that you studied, but you hadn't implemented, that you just had on paper and you didn't even try it. This week, we're going to do it. That's one of your PD takeaways. This week, I want to see you apply it. You want to see you apply it. We're not on E. We're not on empty. You don't want to finish the year on empty. You got to be revived and rejuvenated. And how do you continue to revive and rejuvenate? Continue to grow. Continue to pump into yourself. Continue to input so that your output continues to be powerful. Next thing I want you to do, ask a colleague to observe and ask them to observe you, or you go observe them. You don't stop just because it's the end, you all. We got to find the energy. Leaders, I know you're tired. Teachers, I know you're tired. Students, I know you're tired. But guess what? We've got to be revived because we can't continue to fall behind. We can't continue to get behind, you all. And the only way that we're going to start to close those gaps is that we turn it up. We got to turn it up. Read one article this week. Pull you an article. An educational article, and read it. Think about those things that are hot topics. Think about those areas that you want to improve in. Think about all the different educational dynamics Think about solutions that you looked at for different problems of practice and so forth. But read an article. That's three things, you all, that I charge you with today to do this week that's going to continue to help you as an educator. Study your craft, increase collaboration, and improve your educational community. Like, comment, subscribe, share this out, you all. Share this out. We on fire today. You better believe it. You better believe it. And as we prepare to close, I just want you to encourage you. Continue to push, continue to grind. Don't stop, you all. Don't stop. Don't stop. I appreciate you joining the podcast today, because if you all didn't join each and every week, there'd be no reason for me to continue. But I know that there's power in what we're doing. I appreciate your collaboration. If there are topics that you want covered, send me a DM, send me a message. We'll make sure that we cover. I'm sure we may have covered it in some aspect over the course of the year so far, because we got 37 episodes ahead of this one. And I promise you, they've been in depth. Of course, I've been going solo the last few weeks. We'll start back with our guests, 2 to 3 per month in May. Got my first guest coming back May 4th. And then from there, we'll continue with our live stream. We'll continue to empower. We'll continue to connect. And we'll continue to give out information. It's all about the transfer of information as an educator. It's all about how we impact educators and students. And as leaders, you got to influence. If I'm stuck in my way, I'm in the way. Don't you be in the way, you are. Don't be in the way. Let me put this up real quick for you. For anybody that, it looks like that is stuck. Anybody that definitely wants to reach out, just do it. I'm here. I'm available. I'm not hiding from anybody. We wide open. We love what we do. We love talking about education. We love being in educational spaces. Education runs the nation, because even the top dollar people had to be educated in something. And if it wasn't formal, it was informal, right? But it came from somewhere. Knowledge is power, you all. So with that being said, week 37, we are bringing to a final close. And I just want to say to you, continue to love and to lead with your heart. Continue to seek wisdom so that you can live in your purpose. And can continue to be courageous so that we can drown out all fear and be who we need to be every single day. Dr. Joe, you all, signing off. Always speaking, always writing life into you. Have the best rest of your day.